All right, this is going to be one of a few videos I make about the Swiftpoint Z mouse for hardware multiboxing with WoW. I'm pretty excited about this thing. I've been sort of setting it up and kind of tweaking things for use with an A mouse and 5-boxing with hardware. And I tried to record a video that was like everything I had to say about it, including the Amos video I put out yesterday, or this morning, or whenever that was. And it was like an hour and a half long. It was ridiculous. I'm like, this is not what people want. So I'm going to break these up. Instead of talking about the whole thing, I'm going to pick just a couple topics. And so this one's going to be about DPS. I'm going to cover DPS and interact with target because those are kind of important if you have melee characters. Just real quick, I'm going to talk about one of the things that's like really exciting, I think, about this device is you see here there's this mouse memory area, mouse memory usage. If you create a macro of any complexity and you save it and save mapping to permanent flash memory and mouse, that macro will work. Not most mice are not like that. Most mice input devices will take very, very simple macros and store them on board. But something like what I've got going on here, which this is the DPS macro that I'm going to talk about, where you're holding down a button on the mouse, and doing that doesn't actually issue a command, and then you've got this like pretty wild configuration step where you're now rebinding what happens when you move the mouse left and right, and it's like that for every button. Like with the exception of the button that you're holding, you can change how every other button behaves. You can change how moving the mouse behaves, and of course this does have tilt and pivot on it, and so you can, if you want, pick the mouse up and just like turn it sideways and have it do something. You can tilt it just a little and have it do something. I will say that in these sort of like hold options here, I haven't really found the right way to do like a pivot modification, and I don't know if that's a bug or maybe I just don't know how to set those up right. It's also kind of not that important. I mean, the pressure sensitive buttons and the ability to do different things the harder you press, that's pretty awesome. The built-in accelerometer that lets you basically treat a slight tilting of the mouse as a kind of input that you would do actions on, that's pretty cool. And certainly as multi-boxers we can make use of that, but the most powerful thing about this, which is like makes it worth every dollar I've spent on it, is that you can rebind the entire mouse when you're holding a button down. And that button can do what it normally does. Like I didn't have to leave this blank. If I wanted, left fingertip press to do something else, I could do that there and that would fire off. And then any other button I press while I'm holding that could do something completely different than it would normally do. And that's what you're going to see here. When I hold down this button, it's going to do these two things. I'm going to talk about those in a little bit. And before I show you that, let's talk about right fingertip press. This is my move back with interact with target. So you can kind of see here, alternate next 6, alternate next 6, alternate next 2. This is an amazing part of this mouse where in onboard memory storage, you can have a macro where it knows that you want to switch between two things and it will only do one of them. So in this case, right fingertip press hits D, which is my move back, only bound on melee characters, and then it hits I, which is one of my interact with target keys. And if I remember to, I'm just going to hide the driver here. I'm going to go into WoW. I'm just going to run out of range here, and I'm just going to tap that right fingertip button twice, so you can actually see. I'm going to do that again. All right, so it's at the beginning.
My mana is nearly gone.
I have healbot turned on. Oh my god, I need to stop. Or I need to change that. So you can see my character kind of moves back a little bit. Let's see if I can do this. So, as I like wail on that, it's moving back or whatever. Now, if you were to put that in, like, when you remember in IS boxing, like that move back step would not really register if you also had an interact with target command. Like it would hit the key and then send the other one right away. Which, by the way, I mean, that was a little dicey in terms of a one input, one action thing. Whatever. In this case, like, you have total control over this. Hit it once, hit it twice. I suppose I need a target if I want to interact with it. And, you know, if you see a runner, you can just, you know, double tap that and everybody will move back and run back in. And if it gets out of sync, you know, tap it 3 times, right? That's it. That's a EULA compliant hardware macro that will move your melee back. Casters who do not have the move back keybind bound will do nothing. And then everybody interacts with target, right? Pretty cool. Now, I'm going to bring the driver back real quick here. The really neat part is how I sort of, I mean, I already talked about this a little, but I have left fingertip press doing nothing. But I've got it set up so that if I move my mouse right, for every 200 units of screen real estate, which it might be pixels, I'm not quite sure, it's some sort of representation of your overall resolution. I haven't found a hard and fast answer on that, but you know, I know that 1 goes really fast. Minor changes in that number do not seem to like have an appreciably noticeable difference. 200 is actually to the point where if I really start moving my mouse in a direction, it will go through, it will alternate the next, you know, these 6 key presses, starting with numpad 1 up through numpad 6. And I can, you know, very carefully step through those. Or if I want, I can just move my mouse, you know, basically off the desk and not even quite that far. 200 pixels of movement is probably, I don't know, it's not that far. So, you know, this is interesting because not only you're holding down an input key, you were then having to issue other commands to your input device to get it to do any of this stuff. So in that way, it's sort of like 2 input signals, 1 action. And the reason it's so awesome is because you're using something other than a button to trigger those actions. You're using distance the mouse is traveling as a click, kind of. And, you know, you can make this any direction. You can make it up and down. I'm not sure for DPS if up and down would be a good choice. Especially if maybe you were like trying to get ground AoE abilities to land. You probably don't want to go too far up and down. But I'll show you 200 units of travel in just a second here. Originally, like I said, I think I said that I started out, it was just any direction, and it would just go, you know, brrr, you know, it was alternating 12. It was num1 through, you know, num dot or whatever I have. You can see here I'm doing, you know, it's the second row. So I call this, you know, DPS first tier, second tier, and that just corresponds to the rows here. I had a little bit of a mix up. I forgot I had to hide the driver interface. So that's a hard cut, and I'm back into WoW, and you can now see it. So the 2 tiers is really, it's just 1 action bar with 2 rows. And so tier 1, tier 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down fingertip, left fingertip, all right? And I'm just going to move my mouse just a little bit to the right. Now, I was in the middle of the row, but you kind of see, just move my mouse just a little bit, nice and slow, and it's going to go through each one of the steps. And it'll only do the top row when I'm moving right. And then, but I can, you know, start moving left. So the thing that I really like about this is that if, you know, I'm paying attention to the bar and something that I care about in the first row is about to come off cooldown, I can just stop moving left. It's, you know, or Fell Devastation. I'm in a Fury, right? And otherwise I could just, you know, keep going left, you know, and I'm moving my mouse quite a bit to get it to go through the whole bar, or the whole, you know, the half bar. And I'm doing that just because I want to make sure that, like, I'm not going over the top, right? Like, I don't want to make this obnoxiously close to violating too much stuff. Turning mouse movement into an input click, if you will, is pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know if that has been done before. I don't think I've ever heard about it, but I've also not really looked for it. But the fact that I'm holding down a mouse button and moving and making sure that the amount of distance I have to travel is sufficient, where like, you know, I really have to move it to, you know, get through a whole bar, I feel like that's a pretty good thing. But the overall, like, just ability to decide like halfway through, oh wait, no, I need demon spikes up, and my Kyrian ability is off CD, and you know, now, oh, Infernal Strike is up, you know, like at any moment if I'm paying attention to this bar, I can just stop moving my mouse and go the other direction. I think it's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's stop this guy from banging on this thing. The other thing I want to talk about before I wrap up here is how I have Healbot constantly telling me I don't have mana, is how I'm using this with sync on, because, you know, having a mouse off of sync and running DPS is, you know, that's basic, kind of, but where this mouse, I think, really, at least for me, has been a kind of a game changer, is the idea of being able to remap buttons while you hold them down, which allows me to make it possible to do a lot of the combat in sync, like in sync mode from the mouse, where I would normally otherwise only want to do it from the keyboard or keypad before. And so I'm just going to go back into the driver here, look at all mappings, because I want to show you this one right here, top thumb press. When I went into when I did my video about Amos specific functionality for this mouse, I sort of glossed over this one because it's huge. It's huge. But this whole thing, you know, this is top thumb press right here. When I hold this down, it sends the command to turn on relative mouse positioning. Then it turns on sync. When I let it go, it turns off sync. Okay? So while this button right here that's green is held down, the Amos that is dedicated to my mouse is broadcasting. It's broadcasting with relative mouse positioning, which means if I start moving, you know, my characters, which I don't have that set up to happen in here, like with normal running, like with, you know, holding down left and right mouse button. But I do have strafe left and strafe right, which you see here. But anyway, so while I'm holding down the top thumb button, I'm not using left fingertip press to do DPS. I'm actually making my left mouse click do that. So if this is on, you can see I've got my DPS set up to alternate when I press the left button. So this is held down. When I click this, if I don't hold it down, it'll do the same thing that I had right fingertip press do before. So if I tap it once, it will move back. If I tap it again, it will move, you know, hit interact with target keybind. And I'll just show you that real quick. And this time I'm not going to forget to hide the driver. All right, sweet. So let's I'm just going to run out of range here. So I'm holding down my left, or the top thumb button, and I'm just going to double tap. Oh no, it's not alternating. Oh my gosh, that's sad. What's wrong? I'm going to look at the driver real quick. DPS, alternate next two actions. Huh. Usually when I have something where a button is being held down and then it's stepping through things, it remembers where the alternate should go. I might have to rethink this one. I could, of course, make it so that when I let go... Oh, I wonder if I have to... Hold on. I wonder if I have to... wonder if I have to press it... No, that didn't work. I thought maybe I had to, like, press left thumb down, but it's really... Oh. Oh my gosh. Can you see how big of a freaking noob I am? I'm doing this. I don't have a target. There. I'm not even going to cut this. This has, like, kind of been my week, where I'm playing with this thing. I think I've got, like, an amazing macro set up, and then I get in here, and I'm like, why isn't it working? I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? You need a target. You can't interact with nothing. I think I've done it like 3 times tonight trying to make this video. Anyway, all right. So left thumb, or top thumb button is held down. I have double tap left click to do move back and interact with target. Okay. Now I'm going to hold down left click, leave it held down, and do the same thing like I did with left fingertip press. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't have this at the same unit sensitivity, so you can kind of see how it behaves if it's a little faster. And I'm going to increase this because I actually prefer it so that I have a higher number of units the mouse has to travel, because it's easier to stop maybe like midway through or step through. Like you gotta be careful, and you can overshoot on abilities that you want to stop. Like, you know, if I want to stop when Fiery Brand is up, it's a little harder with the smaller unit travel amount. So, but it's all the same otherwise. Same bar, same sort of, you know, movement parameters. But now the difference is that this is going to all of the ports on the PC. Like, all of the players are doing this now. And, you know, it's the same concept, but the idea is that by having it on left mouse button, it's a little easier to get to. Because left fingertip, it's easy to press and hold when you're not doing anything else. But I need this top thumb button pressed down to have sync enabled, because by letting it go, sync is off, and I'm automatically now controlling whichever character I had, and I don't have to worry about hitting any buttons or switching to port 1 or, you know, any of that stuff, right? Like, to me, like, this idea of being able to turn sync on and hold a button down and then do a whole bunch of stuff completely differently than the mouse would behave if I wasn't holding that button down. And then again, you know, this is multiboxing specific, but then letting that button go and being back to the exact same control mechanism that I had before I started holding it down. Like, this is hands down the sort of like mental jump I had to make with sort of getting used to this device, to realize I don't need two mice. Like, when I first got this, I was like, man, how am I going to do this without two mice? Because, like, I have all of these things I need to do, to you know, get combat to the point where if mouse sync is on, it's not gonna, you know, the cameras aren't gonna go all over, and, you know, I'm so used to pressing my DPS macro on my keypad with sync on all the time. I just kind of didn't really wrap my head around, like, how could I do this? And with a lot of mice, this is just not really possible. And am I doing it again? No. Oh my gosh, I just had a little. I had a little freak out that I had the mouse driver screen up. Seriously, it's happened like 4 times trying to record this video. I'm just like, anyway, making that mental jump from like, okay, you know, I don't need to have a button to do DPS now. And in fact, not having one to do DPS is probably better, because, truth be told, even though I demonstrated that left fingertip click or hold and, you know, wiggle the mouse DPS thing, I'm not really ever going to be using that, because if I'm solo questing, which I don't really do, or demonstrating with a target dummy, yeah, I'll do that. But the only time I'm really ever going to want to be DPSing from the mouse like this is when I'm synced. And so the sort of turn sync on key press, hold it down, and then turn sync off when you let go, it's awesome. It's amazing. I'm really excited to actually use this for real. All I've done is some like pretty minor questing, and that's all very easy. You truly find out how well the setup works once you get into a dungeon or a raid, and I hope to do that soon. Anyway, so this is my first, I guess, of the like WoW specific functionality that doesn't have to do with just the Amos. And I'm gonna make a couple more videos as much as I need to. Like, I think I mentioned, I'm gonna cover hardware based interrupt rotations, which are awesome. And so look for that soon. And I guess maybe I'll also do one about carefully using cooldowns. All right, so that's it for now. I hope you like this. If you have any questions, drop a comment. I try to respond to those as frequently as I can. And, you know, if I don't get in there right away, I'm not ignoring you. Just, you know, I'm old. Life gets busy. All right. Peace.